All right, since I'm psychic and I already know you want part two of the Palace Melodies, this is part two of the Palace Melodies. So shout out to Palace. I watched your interview earlier today. I finished the interview on Producer Grind, a very good interview with Palace. And his workshops, I recommend you guys go out and support Palace and whatever else he has going on. So today I'm going to create part two. This one's going to be more of an ambient melodic structure of a melody. So we're going to get a little advanced. I may start speaking music theory in ease. So if you're not used to music theory talk, forgive me. I'll break it down for you as much as I can. So today, if you're new, it's all about sound selection. Okay, so the pack is called SRX Dance Tracks from Roland's, what's it called? Roland Cloud. Okay, so it's a subscription. Now the key part about the sound is that it's velocity sensitive under bell category. Go to bell. This is square bell 1. We're just starting here as a starting point. So if I hit the bell harder, it gets brighter. That's really important for melodies to evolve over time and sound more. I could take a melody like this, a chord. Let me turn this up a little bit. Probably should have cranked that up before. So depending on how hard I play it, it plays more and more harmonics. Okay, so I was just showing you that sound so you can get an idea of what I mean by hitting it harder with the velocity. So you're gonna go for a bell or a pluck sound. I'm gonna pick our own type of bell sound so that we don't create identical melodies. This one's cool because it's nice and lush and it seems like it has that velocity function to it. So here's a key to this sound. If you want that kind of dreamy melodic sound, break up a nice big chord. I found that that's the easiest way to kind of start. So what we're gonna do is break up a minor 9 chord. Here are the notes if you want to copy. So it's F. Okay, let's just copy these notes. Okay, so we're gonna copy these notes and then we're gonna play them one by one. So most people, they just leave the velocity where it is. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's turn the tempo up and turn the metronome on. That's what I was trying to say. It's got a 160-ish BPM. Now again, the mistake is that most people leave the velocity all the way up. If you don't see this, left click the little ellipses at the bottom and then turn your velocity down for the notes. And you can elevate it over time. Now it's a little hard to hear again because I have to crank the volume. Look how low the dB is. So what I'll do is I'll crank the levels. So it gives you that dreamy sound because we're really playing a chord that's split up. So that's the first step, is understanding that a lot of the melodies you want are actually chords that are broken up. And we have a whole system called chord codes. If you want to learn chord codes, just go to busyworksbeats.com/music theory. I'll leave the link below. But you have to understand chord codes. Okay, so all those melodies come from chords. So really we're just gonna play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I'll show you how to switch it up over time. So let's do this 3 times and then let's switch it up on the 4th one. Let's hit shift to clone these notes over. If you select by hitting control. So on the 4th thing, our brain's like, okay, change it up. So in the 4th thing, instead of playing the minor 3rd, we're gonna play the minor 2nd, and then instead of playing the 5th, we'll play the 4th. So it sounds like it's changing up, but really it's giving us the same identity. Now you can go through and change out the sound. Now that's a whole track to itself. Let's go to, you could do bells, mallets, guitar could work on this type of sound. You're gonna need more of a plucky release sound. So this is called the dance tracks, but let's just stick with the bell category for this specific sound. Okay, so that one's called Annabelle's or Annabelle's. That's a little quiet, so let's just add a compressor just to pull up those levels a little bit. The only thing about the rolling cloud sounds, there's a lot of headroom, so you gotta pull those levels up. Okay, so now we're gonna layer it with some kind of other sound. Some people call this a counter melody. Some people call it an accent sound. Let's just go in and find another sound that goes with the sound. Let's keep it that simple. Let's go to SRX World and let's pick a category. Let's try, we need something different. So this one's very plucky and lightweight. Let's find something very vibrant and longer. So let's try a synth. We don't want anything too bitey and too distracting. That one seems like it does a lot. You could do brass, but that's hit or miss. A lot of people don't like brass. So flute is kind of like your safe background sound. We want a flute that has long sounds to it, not like a dum dum. Again, these sounds are really hard to hear. So let's clone this over so we can have the same exact effects on the second sound. Because again, these sounds are really low, especially for making video. There we go. You just want to find the sound that goes with it. And then lastly, you just want to touch it up with reverb and delay. Reverb or delay, I'll say. Because the delay is not mandatory. So I'm just going to send it through Valhalla Vintage Verb. Let's send our flute through there. I got to get tongue twisted when I speak at 100 miles an hour. Okay, so let's do this. And I'll just play the flute by hand, just so it has like a natural thought process. We're going to go to song mode, map this out. So I'm gonna let's use the metronome to make sure we're on track. Record notes and automation. So I'm just repeating that phrase, bump, bum, bum, bump. It's the best part about having real instruments. I could have done that better. I hit the wrong note there, but so it's just accenting the turnarounds. This one, I'm just gonna copy and paste the first note because it needs to be short. It needs to be dun-dun-dun, like an impact sound. Okay, so you can just copy the thought process, which is just to have something that's ending something. That was an accident. Okay, so we're gonna send those things through the reverb. Now at this point, you could add a third instrument. It might be overkill. At this point, I would try, before you add an instrument, I would try effects like delay, chorus plugins. Here's a secret knob nobody knows about in the Roland stuff. If you go to edit, you can mess with this analog feel and it adds a nice vibe. Like nobody knows about that. Just go to edit, analog feel, turn it up. And now it just feels different. Adds like vibrato and a little pitch wobble effects. So again, you can mess with the velocity to make it, you could add more layers to this. I'm not gonna complicate the video to make this super long, but you could add another layer of melody. Let's go back. And then mess with the velocity up here. Then we could do dun dun dun. So I'm gonna clone this over, hit Control A, Shift, left click, drag everything over. Get rid of those other notes, and then we can make sure we're just deleting the overlap. Now we have a moving melody and it moves the idea forward. Another thing people don't do is go to the wrench tool under the cog icon, go to the wrench tool, turn up time shift. Your melody does not always start right on the downbeat. There's a little time gap sometimes with real instruments, especially with the pluckier stuff. So add that time shift just a little bit. Let's add a little to the flute. Let's just turn the flute down. I only had it turned up for us to hear it. Now here's the really advanced part. Let's group these together. Highlight these, hit Control G to group them, and then right click, consolidate track from track start. Okay, now we have it as audio. You can do a lot of cool stuff from here. I'm just gonna show you a couple things, so I don't wanna make this video so long. What you could do from here is reverse, which he doesn't really do a lot. Okay, or you could do, go to mode, stretch mode, and then mess with the pitch. You could pull it up 300 cents, down 300 cents. I'm reading the value in the top left. You can speed it up now that we have it on stretch mode. You can up the tempo. So now it has a whole different vibe. You can pitch it down for a darker vibe and then slow it down. So let's pitch it down 300 cents and then just slow it down. So it has that dreamy sound still because of all the effects we used. Okay, so if I'm pulling the pitch down, I'll usually slow it down, the BPM, and if I'm pulling the pitch up, I usually speed the BPM up. If you want to learn more, go to busyworksbeats.com/premium to learn more about how to make melodies. We have free courses right at premium.busyworksbeats.com. I'll leave a link below. Thanks for watching. It's Game from busyworksbeats.com.